All right, today we're going to talk about how to solve and graph inequality, which is a new skill, but it builds off of all the same building block skills we did with solving equations last week. So we have a special rule when it comes to solving inequalities. Okay, so this rule, we're going to fill in the blanks at the top here, is if you multiply or divide both sides of the inequality by a negative number, then you must flip the inequalities. Okay. So solving inequalities, we're going to treat it the same as we did solving equations, with that one special rule that if we at any point in the problem multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, we flip the direction of the inequality sign. What do we mean by that? Greater than sign, like in number one, would flip to a less than sign. Okay. So let's do number one. Okay, so we have 24 greater than negative 12p. Well, we want to solve for p, okay, which is back here. So in order to get p by itself, we would have to divide both sides by negative 12. So we do 24 divided by negative 12, that's negative 2. And then again, our special rule, we divided by a negative. So this was a greater than, it's going to become a less than p. Now, typically, you'll see the variable written in front. So we're going to actually rewrite this with the p in front. Be careful here, though. By bringing the p in front, since this sign faced towards the p, we would flip it to face towards the p on this side. So p is greater than negative 2. So if we think about it, negative 2 is less than p. That's the same thing as saying p is greater than negative 2. We have one other note that we're going to put in the middle here. So if we have a greater than or a less than, we're going to use an open circle. If we have greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, closed circle. And that's specifically with graphing on a number line. Okay, when we say p has to be greater than negative 2, we don't want to include negative 2, because remember, what we're graphing are all the solutions for this. That would make sense. Okay, so we want to graph all of the solutions here where p is greater than negative 2. We don't want to include negative 2, so the way we say that in math is we use an open circle. We put an open circle at negative 2, and we want all the values greater than that. So we're going to shade in the side of the number line with the numbers bigger than negative 2. That'd be going to the right. Okay. So as we do more examples, you're going to see different types of number lines graphed. Okay. For example, we have number 2. Okay. It says x divided by 8 is greater than negative 16. And we treat this like a solving problem. So if we want to get x by itself, let me rewrite this below actually, give us a little more room. X divided by 8 greater than negative 16. So to get x by itself, if we divided by 8, the opposite of that would be multiplying by 8. So we'd multiply both sides by 8 to cancel out this dividing by 8. So then we'd have x. Now here, this is a common misconception. People will see this negative number on the right and think, oh, I flipped my sign. No. Okay, we multiply by positive 8. We multiply by a positive number. We don't flip our sign. So it's still greater than. Then we do negative 16 times 8. That's negative 128. So x is greater than negative 128. We go up to this number line that's provided for us. If we were going to graph that, well, it's just greater than. It's not or equal to. So we want to put an open circle at negative 128. want all the values greater than that. We're going to shade to the right. Okay. Let's try some more. If we looked at 3, I'm going to rewrite it down here. 2p is greater than or equal to -4. Okay, so to solve that, we would get rid of the 2 in front. We would divide both sides by 2. Here, we divided by a positive number, so we would not flip the sign. P is greater than or equal to -2. Since this one is an or equal to, we want to include -2 when we graph this. So we're going to put a closed dot at -2. This is another greater than, so we want all the values bigger than -2, going to the right. Try 4. We have 104. It's less than -13a. Well, we want to get a by itself, so we would divide both sides by -13. So now we would do 104 divided by -13. We get -8. Now we divide it by a negative number. Remember, this is where we'd flip the sign. A. Again, this looks confusing right now when we have the variable in the back. So now we're going to do one more step and rewrite this with the variable in the front. So A is going to come to the front. The original sign was facing towards the -8, so we're going to continue doing that. So A is less than -8. Okay, since it's a less than, we'd use an open circle. Don't want to include -8. And then we want all the values less than -8. So this time we're going to shade to the left, all these numbers. We look at our number line, the numbers are getting smaller as we go to the left, further negative, right? -10 is smaller than -8. Okay, we're going to the left. Now we're just going to build from here and make some tougher solving problems. Okay, so this will be good practice from last week. 5, 18 is less than -6 times parentheses n plus 10. So we follow all the same solving rules. We're going to start by multiplying the -6 to both. Covering up my number line. Okay, so we'd have 18 is less than -6n minus 60. We keep solving, trying to get n by itself. So next we would add 60 to both sides. Now we have, oops, sorry about that. Now we have 78 less than -6n. Well, now we got to get the n by itself, so we divide both sides by -6. So we do 78 divided by -6. That would be -13. Now we divide it by a negative number, so remember we have to flip the sign. It's greater than n. And then again, we get confused when we see that variable in the back, so let's bring it to the front. Sorry about that. Okay, so then we'd have n. So before, this sign was facing towards the -13, so we're going to continue with that. Okay, so it's less than -13. That's what we're going to graph. Since it's just a less than and not an or equal to, we want an open circle at -13. Well, -13 is right between -12 and -14. Open circle. We want all the values less than that, so we're going to shade to the left. Okay. 6. Okay, let's rewrite it. -1 greater than or equal to 7 plus n all over 4. We haven't seen that many like this. Okay, so everything's getting divided by 4. Easiest way to deal with that, when we're dividing everything by 4, would be to multiply both sides by 4 to get rid of this dividing by 4. Those would cancel. 4 times -1, that would be -4, greater than or equal to 4's cancel, so we're left with just 7 plus n. Trying to get n by itself, so now I could get rid of the 7 in front. Since it's 7 plus n, the opposite of adding 7 would be subtracting 7. So negative 4 minus 7, negative 11, greater than or equal to n. Let's rewrite that with the n in front. N, the sign is facing towards the negative 11. Towards the negative 11. N is less than or equal to negative 11. Since it's an or equal to closed dot on that negative 11, we want all the values less than that. Shade to the left. Okay. We're building. Let's go to the back side of the second page. Okay, so we look at 7. So we have 11 is less than 10 plus n divided by 6. Trying to get n by itself. Well, let's get rid of this 10 plus in the front here. Subtract 10 on both sides. 11 minus 10, 1. It's less than n over 6. N divided by 6, undoing dividing by 6, multiply both sides by 6. Okay, that'll cancel out that dividing by 6. Then we're left with 6 is less than n. Can we always put the variable in front? So that'd be the same thing. The sign faces towards the n. N is greater than 6. Since it's just a greater than and not an or equal to, open circle at 6. We want the values bigger than that, greater than that. So shade to the right. Why don't you guys try to do number 8? All right, let's see how we did. So we have 10 minus 2n greater than negative 12. Okay, so first we want to get rid of the 10 in front. Okay, so it's a positive 10 in front. So check your work. Did you subtract 10 first on both sides? Hopefully you did. That would cancel these out. Notice we'd be left with negative 2n. It's greater than negative 12 minus 10, negative 22. Now it's negative 2n, so we want to divide by negative 2. Okay, and hopefully remembered our rule. If we divide by a negative, flip the sign. N is less than negative 22 divided by negative 2, positive 11. N is less than 11. Well, we go to 11, since it's just a less than, open circle. Remember, or equal to, we would fill it in. We want all the values less than 11, so going to the left. Okay. From here, we're just getting to tougher ones algebra-wise. Notice now we have variables on both sides. Still our solving rules apply. Okay, so if we have parentheses in here, we're going to start by multiplying it out. So 3 times negative 6n, negative 18n. 3 times negative 5, minus 15, less than or equal to negative 7n plus 40. Okay, now we have variables on both sides. We said last week with solving equations, when we have variables on both sides, get rid of the smaller one first. This is where that rule really becomes nice. Okay, if we get rid of the smaller number, we'll see what happens each time. So here, the smaller number would be the negative 18n. So to get rid of a negative 18n, we would add 18n on both sides. Okay, that would cancel out this negative 18n. So we'd be left on the left side with negative 15, less than or equal to negative 7n plus 18n. Well, that would be 11n plus 40. So what we'll notice, guys, is when we get rid of the smaller number or the more negative number, if they're both negative, we'll always have a result that's positive. We like that because then we don't have to remember that rule with flipping the sign as often. Okay. Now we keep solving for n. Minus 40, minus 40. Negative 15 minus 40. Negative 55 is less than or equal to 11n. We divide both sides by 11. Remember, even though this is a negative number, we don't flip here because we divided by a positive. Okay, so negative 55 divided by 11, negative 5. is less than or equal to n. And then let's rewrite that with the n in front. And notice the sign was facing towards the n, opening towards the n. So do that. Open towards the n. Negative 5. So n is greater than or equal to negative 5. Close circle. So it's or equal to. Want the values bigger than that. Shade to the right. Okay, why don't you guys try to do 10? All right, let's see how we did. We'd first distribute to multiply the 3 to both. You have 15 minus 3x is less than 3x plus 3. The smaller x in this one would be the negative 3x. So we would add 3x on both sides. That's gone. Now we'd have 15 less than 6x plus 3. Subtract 3 on both sides. 12 is less than 6x. Divide by 6, divide by 6. We'd have 2 less than x. Bring the x to the front. Sign face towards the x, open towards the x, so greater than 2. X is greater than 2. Since it's greater than, open circle. Value's bigger than that, going to the right. Okay. All right, finishing up with some tough ones where we have to distribute multiple times, like we did last week with solving equations. This means we're multiplying twice through. Okay, so the first one, we multiply the 7 to both. Okay, so 7 times 1, 7, plus 7 times 4m, 28m. Then there's really a minus sign here, so what you're really distributing is a negative 1 to both. So negative 1 times 2m plus 2m. Negative 1 times negative 1 plus 1 is less than or equal to 8. Notice there we did not flip the sign because we were just multiplying within here. We were distributing a negative number. We were not multiplying or dividing both sides by a negative number. This less than or equal to, we treat like an equal sign. Okay, so if we can combine like terms on a side, we want to do that. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so we can combine 7 and the 1, make 8. And we can combine the 28m and the 2m to make plus 30m is less than or equal to 8. Keep solving. Okay, so we want to get the m by itself, so we get rid of the 8 first. Minus 8 minus 8. Now I'd have 30m is less than or equal to 0. Okay, now we just keep solving, right? If it's a 30m, we divide both sides by 30. So I'd have m less than or equal to, well, 0 divided by 30, still just 0. Okay, so m is less than or equal to 0. So less than or equal to, closed circle at 0. We want all the values less than 0, so we're going to shade to the left. Okay. Why don't you guys attempt number 12? Yeah, we did. 44 less than. Let's distribute. Be 4x minus 24. So we multiply the 4 to both. Plus 4 plus 12x. Combine our like terms. Okay, so we could combine the 4x and the 12x. 44 is less than 4x plus 12x, 16x. And we could combine the negative 24 and the plus 4, minus 20. We want to get rid of this minus 20 next. Plus 20, plus 20. 44 plus 20, 64 less than 16x. Divide both sides by 16. So 64 divided by 16, 4 is less than x. Bring the x to the front. X, sign face towards the x, greater than 4. Greater than 4. Since it's just greater than, open circle at 4. Since it's greater than, we want the numbers bigger than 4. Right. Okay. So that's our lesson for today on solving and graphing inequalities.